So over time, we've seen on these older systems or some of these fly-by-night companies will come out and bypass that switch, even though it's doing what it's supposed to. It's a safety mechanism to cause that heat exchanger that can't get too hot, that eventually will cause it to break or cause more cracks or so on. You can talk about on the furnaces too. Like one thing we see a lot when we go out to these heating maintenances over time is you have some of these older units and we'll see homeowners will have someone else out who's not a legitimate company and bypass a limit switch.
What is a limit switch?
So a limit switch, electricity flows through a limit switch and it's closed circuit. And then if the heat exchanger ever gets too hot and let's say the blower motor is not running and so it's not blowing air over the heat exchanger, as over time, that heat will cause that limit switch to break and open that circuit and kill power. So over time, we've seen, on these older systems or some of these fly-by-night companies will come out and bypass that switch, even though it's doing what it's supposed to. It's a safety mechanism to cause that heat exchanger that can't get too hot, that eventually will cause it to break or cause more cracks or so on.
Another thing that we do during our maintenances is we check all of the electrical components that go to the blower motor. And so like you've got a capacitor that starts your blower motor, and you've got your blower motor itself that moves air across the heat exchanger and throughout your house. Well, if that capacitor is starting to fail, it's going to run until the time that it doesn't. And if we check the microfarad readings on it and we see that it's starting to fail and we can go ahead and get that capacitor changed out, then you could go ahead and get that fixed so that you don't have an issue when it is 10 degrees outside, and the other thing too is that could save you more money in the future as well, because when that blower motor doesn't run but the heat does run, it makes that heat exchanger get so hot and expand even more than it's supposed to when it has proper airflow going over it, which could, it goes back to the limit switch, is also it could force one of those small cracks to open even more. So you could cost yourself an even bigger repair by replacing the heat exchanger or replacing the furnace later on down the road if you just go ahead and replace that capacitor today and while we're doing that preventative maintenance.